Hello, nerds. So let's just do like the leather armor here as an example. So start from your dark colors, and as you add brighter colors, think about moving them towards your light source. So if you're painting something's outdoor in the sun, move all your highlights toward the top of each shape. If you're doing some special lighting source from another angle, move towards that angle, so on and so forth. It just becomes a lot easier to think about each one of your brush strokes as you go to brighter and brighter colors, needing to move towards the light. Okay. So when we think about highlights, dark umber to light umber is a shade to a midtone. When we talk about value, a dark base, a mid-tone color, and then the bright version of this would be something like beige gray. You got a choice when you're dry brushing, right? We have flat dry brushes that are wide and narrow. They will catch edge detailing very nice. Or the dome dry brushes that you see a lot now. The dome dry brush will put paint on more surfaces because of the shape of it, whereas this will only hit like the top surface on the edge. This has the ability as you go across to reach deeper into recesses and deliver more color. So just think about what you're trying to do. Okay, let's do the dome dry brush for the mid-tone. So I'm gonna get a little bit of paint on here, wipe most of it off on my paper towel. Then we're just going to come over here, and this is going to deliver more paint on the surface because of the shape. When dry brushing, you're going to always make sure that your brush stroke goes from your light source across the model, never back the other way. So only touch the model in one direction, hitting the model from the top down. My stroke back this way never touches the model. Make sense? That's very, very important for a dry brush to have any effect at all. If you dry brush back the other direction, you start putting paint in the shadows, which is eliminating the reason why you're dry brushing at all. Now I have what is effectively just really good leather color right out of the gates. This is done with more paint on the brush so that I'm delivering more, and using the dome dry brush that delivers more paint so that it's covering more area. Then I'm going to clean my brush out real quick. Always important to make sure you clean your dry brush very well after each stage. Whereas with a normal brush, you don't have to do that because it collects so much paint, it will get very stiff very quick. Now I'm going to take the highlight color. So beige gray, taking that, and now I'm going to use the flat dry brush because now I do just want edges. At the scales we work at, size of the models, if you were to try to use the dome dry brush again with another color over this, you would cover most of what you just did with the light umber. Now, as I take the brighter color, my highlight color, same thing, just top down, and now I just want to catch those edges. And it'll start pulling out only kind of the straight areas. Notice how we don't brighten up the surface, and that's just a function of the shape of this brush. So that's why you have flat dry brushes and domed. Our dry brush set has two angled dry brushes. The angled dry brush is even better than the flat for most surfaces because you can kind of use the angle to put it into an underarm and pull outward, whereas the flat one, tremendously flat like this, is really meant for like sides of vehicles and such. You always want to go from your light source, because imagine like the side of a tank, you don't want to switch and do side to side just because you'll get more detail that way, because that messes up your light source. It messes up your shadows. The goal of this is to make sure that only the areas that face the light catch the detailing. Notice how this little panel up in here isn't getting any paint on it because the belt covers it. And that's exactly the way that should be. There wouldn't be any light hitting that because it's casting a shadow over the belt. So the brush acts like a ray of light and only delivers the paint where it can hit. Anything that blocks it will be in darkness, which is exactly what you want. So that's a great, simple way to dry brush using 3 colors: base tone, mid-tone, highlight. That's very nice. So you can stop there, or you could add a shade in here. All right, so let's just put some petroleum brown wash out on the palette. So I'll just take a big round brush, get it damp, grab my wash, right, and then just apply my wash over everything. Right. Now my wash is going to alter the color because of the color that I chose, but it's also going to add some shading back in, although you can see from the way we were able to do the dry brushing that our shade was already pretty much taken care of. This will turn the leather a cool color, so I'll show you how you can use your washes to alter the coloration of the surface that you've done. I feel like this is actually cheating. We joke about that a lot, but this actually feels like cheating because the job you get done in a really quick amount of time. Now, probably working faster than I should. You got to be careful when you dry brush. If you dry brush heavier because you're applying less paint and you go back over it with a wash real quick, you can wind up moving that dry brush around and lose that edge. You don't want to do that. So make sure you just let it dry in between stages. Right? Now, the key to this, though, is it what has the wash done? Think in terms of, and again, I'm going to go back to it. Eric Swenson, friend of ours, posted up something that I say all the time. He said, value does all the work, color gets all the credit. And I love that, because I always say that value and volume are what make the model. Color is way on down the line. Color is almost the least important choice you make. Not truly, because it evokes an emotional response, but color is what people see and go, wow, that's great. But if you just say, hey, what colors did you use? And then I hand you the colors and you go paint that same model with those colors, I guarantee you won't be satisfied, because it wasn't the colors. It was how I used the darkness to brightness of those colors and layered them correctly to give the eye the sense of lighting and volume on that model. So when we do that, what we've done here with the wash, after we've gone over the browns and such, is we've darkened everything. So now we no longer have our bright highlight that we chose. So we said at the beginning, I want beige gray to be my highlight. Well, there's no beige gray on this model anymore. What there is a blend of beige gray and petroleum brown wash, which is much darker. So now, even though we still have good value, we go from a dark color to a mid-tone on the panels and then a bright edge. The function of what we did is still there, but the brightness isn't. So this is too dark. This doesn't have the proper highlighting. So what we need to do is do that highlight step one more time. So you do it before, so that when you put the wash on there, you bring those edges down along with all of the other coloring, so it's all even and has that edge. But now when I dry brush with the flat brush, you'll see that it even brings it alive even more. Now we're going to go back again with the flat dry brush, same dry brush we did the first time. Again, I'll show this. I get a little bit of paint on the brush, more so than I would use. See, I've loaded it up with quite a bit, right? And then I wipe all that off. And then we come over here and boom, we just start doing those edges again. Same exact direction, only hitting it from the top. A little bit more paint. I'm not seeing enough color on there. And then again, there we go.
Just a slight wicking.
There we go. Yeah, I'm barely using the tip of the brush. Yeah, and that will brighten up those edges.
It's a great leather workup. I'm clipping this one.
And boom, now you got your highlight back. Very, very simply put, you can use dry brushing to give you way more complicated paint schemes than you might think. Everybody talks about it as being a noob's paint style. Not the case. If you know how to use it, you're confident in using it, you can control it to not have the detriments, the powdery surface, the smudging, all of that. Then you can use it to your benefit, to extreme effect, right? This is a great leather. I would use this as a model I would show off, right? Because it looks great. And looking at this, now you can go back and change the leather pouch color or whatever you want to do, paint the details, and you have a really, really good looking mini that you could have a whole army done this way with all their armor for, you know, whatever fantasy models you were doing or sci-fi, and just be done. I will show my championship skills at dry brush. Ooh, no, that's a little tacky still.